Welcome back. It's been a little while, but my new handlebars. I've gone for some 14-inch ape hangers. These are very nice. I've seen these on another build, and I've tried to find the ones that were pretty much close match. And I've also ordered a set of finned risers that have just arrived from TJ Brutal Customs, because I had a sort of some. They do like a loyalty scheme thing where you get some points based on how much money you spend. And because I did that big order at the start of this build, I had about $100 worth. So I ended up buying these handlebar risers, mainly because the risers pockets on here are recessed. So to buy normal risers that were flush at the bottom, I would have had to get some like bushings machined or spacers. But these, because these are made for the shadow, there's already a recess in there, so they just slot straight into that hole, which is really nice. Anyway, I'm going to fit these now, and I'm going to get the bars on, mainly because in here I've also got, oh, it's buried in there, I'll show you in a bit, but I've got the M.Switch Pro, I think it's called. It's got all the buttons on it, so I kind of wanted to get the bars on so I could fit the switch on. Anyway, I'm going to do that now. There we go. These look absolutely ridiculous. They are so tall. But I think it looks weird because there's no fuel tank here. If you imagine, the fuel tanks should come up to about here. So really, it doesn't really look that, that ridiculous once. But because there's nothing there, these look so tall. They're really nice though. I really like the style of these ones. So I went with these ones. I didn't want to go for like normal Z bars. I just sort of wanted to something a bit different. I will mess about with the position of these once I've got the seat back on. At the moment I'm still messing about with the seat, and I kind of wanted to keep the seat off for the wiring. One issue I have just found out is that because I've used these little valve caps, there's such a tiny gap between the top of the valve and the handlebars that I've had to take these little caps off. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do a bit of research, find out what fork legs these have come off, and see if I can replace these caps. The replacements I did buy don't fit them, so I think the best thing I'm going to be able to do is do a bit of research and maybe buy some where the threads look similar and then swap them out, because I'm not too keen on these sort of being so close like that. I don't really like it, and I don't really like these caps. So yeah, that's the bars on. So I'm pretty happy with that. This looks absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm just gonna rest myself on the bike, and these are huge. They need to go, I think they need to point forward a little bit more, maybe a bit more upright. So, but I'll know that once I've got the seat on. But yeah, next stage, I can put the grips and stuff on now, I guess. They've been sat in this box forever. They're still here, so I'll be able to put all these on now. These do look nice. They look good on there. Yeah, cool. Right, update. The wash has arrived. The inner diameter was a little bit small, so I just filed it out on the thing. But that means that I can install the buttons. They can go on now, because I've been waiting for these washers to turn up. It came in a 5-pack. What I ended up doing was I packed out in here, just below the riser, with 2 of these. So I think these are about, I don't know, 2 millimeters. So that's about 4 millimeters higher. Gives a lot more clearance on here. And I've also just put a little bit of heat shrink and the nice metal valve caps on there. So they just look so much nicer than just bare thread valves. But yeah, I'm really loving how big these are. When you compare them to like the normal bars, like I think these have been changed anyway, but when you compare them to these are just ridiculous. They're absolutely huge. So yeah, I am going to crack on with putting all the switch gear on. I've also got what have I got? Ooh, this came the other day. this is my, can't see, but it's the levers and the front brake master cylinder is in here as well. But I'll be getting those on the bike shortly. I'll tell you what, Motogadget are not messing about when it comes to their tolerances. So this is the bracket for the housing for the buttons. It said on the website it suited 22mm bars and 25mm bars. So obviously this is the spacer for the 22mm. This is the 25mm. These are 25mm bars, but admittedly they have been powder coated. It wasn't that thick, but as you can see here, I had to take the paint all the way back to bare metal just to get this thing to slide on. And even then, it's very, very tight. Like, it doesn't really want to go. It's so tight. Anyway, the next step of actually installing this thing is, it said to drill a hole in the handlebars, which is a bit annoying because these bars do actually come with, I don't know if you can see on this side, it comes with an opening there to actually let your cabling through there. But it's a bit of a shame that I can't use that because the wire on the actual buttons comes directly out the back. So I've done that. I've also took my Dremel and I deburred the hole on the inside. So that's nice, and you know, there's no sharp metal on either side of this hole. So basically it is just a case of getting this thing into position, putting the screw in here just to clamp this thing down. What I'll probably do is I'll put a length of this wire through this hole, down the bars, and then it comes out the bottom here. And then what I'll do is I'll just tape one end to the other end of the switches so I can just pull those through instead of having to try and get all of those cables. I mean, it is one cable, but it's multiple strands on the end, and I really can't be bothered to try and fish all these through. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed this through, tape it to that end, pull the whole thing through in one go. That's the plan anyway. Oh my god, that took forever. Right, I tried with the thin wire to get it down, but it was just too thin to actually get some pressure behind. So I used the thicker wire. I tried to go in from this way and it got all the way down to here, but I just could not pull it around this bend. What I did was is I tried to make like I got this piece of wire and I tried to internally sort of hook it and then pull it so it would, not this bend, obviously this bend, but like I tried to sort of pull it that direction in case it was trying to bury itself into this corner to try and pull it through that way, but I just couldn't do it. So eventually I just pushed it through this way instead, and I could see it here, so I used my hook thing again, so pulled it that way, but then I couldn't bring it, I couldn't push it from here to get it to come around this way. So that showcased the need for this weird tool that I have. It's basically like little grabber fingers on the end. It's flexible, and then what you do is you push one end. I could do it here, look. I can push one end and these little grabbers come out. I think it's for grabbing like screws and stuff and bolts that you drop into your engine bay. But anyway, in this case, it let me grab the end of this, pull it through. Obviously, it's not supposed to come here. It's supposed to come through this hole. But it's a lot easier to try and navigate this into that than it was to try and get that out of there. Anyway, yeah. I'm like 90% of the way there now. So I'm just going to put a little 90-degree bend in this wire. Slowly pull it back until I can grab it through that hole and pull it through. And then I got to get that wire taped up around this one and pulled through there. I'm not really looking forward to that now, knowing how hard this has been. So we'll give that a go. So here's a little tip I found for these wires. So these ones, I think, are 1mm squared wires. They're pretty small, but these ones are absolutely tiny. They are so small. Obviously the wire stripper will just cut these to bits. So I looked online of how to strip these properly, and you can buy super fine gauge wire strippers, but the other thing was, one person suggested you literally just put the end over a flame. It melts the insulating coating on the wire, and you can just pull it off with your fingers, and that seems to be working fine. So I've managed to actually crimp these tiny little ferrules on 2 of them so far, but I'm going to do the rest before I run out of gas. Yeah, and then these can then be fitted into the M unit with pretty much no problem at all, hopefully. Just like that, these are all neatly crimped. No broken wires, no dodgy stripping, you know, that was really easy. Yeah, I can definitely recommend using that method, just an open flame. These are very thin wires, but the flame does nothing to them. It literally just burns the coating off, and then you can crimp your ends on. Job done. Hey, finally. So it took a little while, but I just sort of, where is it? So I overlapped it by a good, I don't know, what is that? 3.5, 4 inches, and just wound them together with electrical tape. Covered all the connectors. I did have to trim off the little earth connector that I'd already attached because it was just too big and I didn't want to risk it. So I'll have to reattach one of those. But yeah, just make sure you use a lot of overlap with anything like this, because what you don't want to happen is for one end, your pulling end, you don't want that to pull out of bringing this guy through. Anyway, that's in now. Yeah, took a little bit longer than I'd liked, but I can now fix this guy into here, and that'll be the buttons pretty much all sorted on this bike, and then it's a case of sort of wiring them in. So yeah, looking forward to that. Finally, the grips are on. These look so nice. I'm glad I went with these black ones. They feel really nice too. These are just held in place with some like grub screws. But what I've done is I've put a bit of the Tezza tape on the inside here, just one layer, and that was enough to really friction fit this thing on. So that's on there now. I can't twist that at all. That's really nice. The other side is the throttle, obviously. So you got the single throttle body there, and then yeah, pretty much that's it. That's all there is to it. It's just the I gotta get, now that I've got this on, I can actually measure how long this throttle cable actually has to be, because obviously I've added a lot of height here. Same with the clutch cable. So I needed to get these guys on before I could actually do anything with that. Sort of similar situation with the brake line as well, but now that all these things are on, I shouldn't have to worry too much about that. I can just get them made up.